Good morning. Welcome back to Freeburg's Free Advice. We're going to do a little bit of finance kind of piece. I want to talk to you guys about credit and how to build credit at a young age, and that's kind of the focus of it. So, how to build teen credit. So, one of the things that I've worked at pretty hard is actually building my credit and having a good score. I was a finance economics major, so I kind of understood the importance of money and credit and how that plays into an impact there. And before I kind of share my story and some tips on how to even improve upon what I did, I want to talk about why is credit even important. So many of us have probably been told that, hey, stay away from credit cards. They're bad. They're this evil thing. And, try not to borrow money if you can. Always pay cash. So you've also probably heard, though, that, part of the American dream is owning a home. So unless you've got $300,000 laying around or can accumulate that, you're probably going to need to borrow some money at some point to achieve that American dream. So not all borrowing is bad. There's definitely some good spending and borrowing habits that you should practice. But let's talk about credit and why it's important and how it affects things like risk-based pricing. So first of all, I just want to talk about credit scores. According to badcreditadvisor.com, credit score of 700 or better, so 700 up to a max of 850, is excellent credit. And then from a 680 to that 700 mark is very good. And from a 620 to that 680 mark is decent. And anything below a 620 is considered bad credit, all the way down to a minimum of a 300. Okay, if you ever see a 0 score, that means you don't have a credit, like you've never borrowed. So one of the things I've noticed, I sold cars for a little while, so I was involved with the financing side of it a little bit. And you notice that some people come in with scores over 800, and they're getting all these awesome offers like 0% financing or 0.99% financing for the next 7 years. Those are good interest rates. That's awesome. But on the other end, I've also seen people come in with scores that are in the 500s, and they're walking out with loans. It's the only thing they can be offered at like 15%. That's like buying a car with a credit card almost. So that's crazy over 5 years. And it's a huge difference when you look at the total cost of that vehicle. So looking at the cost of a vehicle or the cost of a loan, borrowing money, is hugely dependent upon what your credit score is. So it's basically this idea of how likely are you to pay me money back on time? And so credit score is important there. What if I don't have a credit score? Well, a lot of you first-time buyers, and another thing I saw in the car industry was people come in and their credit score is a 0. Well, that just means you've never borrowed. And a lot of times banks won't lend you large amounts of money if it's the first time because they don't know if you're going to pay it back or not. So maybe they'll give you a $500 loan or a small credit card, but they're probably not going to give you a $20,000 loan or a home loan of hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it's important to build that score early and keep it. So how did I do it? One of the things I did was when I was 17, I just graduated. It was a summer birthday, so just before I was 18. Signed my first car loan with my parents, which was nice. And so even though I was the primary on it, they were still held accountable to make sure that I paid it. But I was able to then be lent money. And so that helped me build my score as I was paying my car payment on time while I was in college. The other thing I did is I then went and got a small credit card through my bank. And I think I started with like a credit limit of about 500. That's kind of typical, super small. And I would just buy gas as I was going back and forth to Pullman. And then I would pay that off in its entirety every single month, and I would slowly build credit that way. I also then had a store credit card. I bought a stereo system for my car as I was driving back and forth, and it had one of those 0% financing for the first 6 months. So I applied for one of those, and I planned the 6 months and what that meant as far as a monthly payment. And every single month I paid that amount. At the end of 6 months, I had it paid off. Well, now I've had multiple lines of credit. I've shown I'm paying things on time and in its entirety, and I'm slowly building that credit. Well, a decade later, now I've got a score that's over 750, and I just got qualified and bought a house worth with a loan of $300,000. So that's cool. That's awesome in a decade. So it does take some time to build, but how can we improve on that? Well, if you're, still a teenager, even younger, right, than I was when I started, let's say 15, 16, you're just kind of getting into high school. Especially once we're 16, we start driving, we've got gas and things like that. See if you can become an authorized user on your parents' account. This is going to allow you to build credit, kind of piggyback off of what they're doing. You don't even necessarily need to have a credit card or access to the stuff. Just be piggybacked onto their account, and as long as your parents or family friend are making payments on time, it'll actually show you as also being a good lender or a good borrower, and that you're paying back and you're going to build credit that way. Now make sure everything's getting paid, because if it's not, it's going to hurt your score. Even though you're not borrowing the money, you're kind of piggybacked on whatever's happening. So that's a good way you can do it. The other way is try to get your parent or somebody to co-sign with you. Now you're the lead on the card, but whoever co-signs with you is also equally responsible for those payments. Maybe put your gas on it or something like that and pay that off on a monthly basis in its entirety, and you'll slowly start to build credit. So a couple different ways that you can build credit. I think it's important to do, because so much of our world is based around credits. Even employers are starting to check credit scores and make sure that you're a responsible person and you're making timely payments. So good luck with that. Hopefully you can build your credit up kind of like I have over the decade. And good luck to you. Thank you for watching Freeburg's Free Advice. Have a wonderful day.